Welcome. In this video, we shall be configuring our website. Remember, in the last video, I talked about the front end and the back end of your website. The front end simply means the web page or the website itself, which everyone can see. For example, when you go to your browser and you type in www.yahoo.com or www.google.com or www.facebook.com, what you see is what is called the front end of the website. That is the place, or rather the pages that everybody can see, while the back end, on the other hand, is where only you, as the creator of the website or as the administrator of the website, can see. Every other person who visits your website cannot see the back end. The back end of your website is solely for you as the administrator or for any other person which you must have given the password to. In the back end is where you configure your website. It's where you put the contents of your website, pictures, write-ups, videos, and everything which is seen in the front end is being configured and edited or being placed from the back end by you as the administrator. Alright, we'll simply go to our browser, Mozilla Firefox, and open it, and in the address bar I'll simply type in localhost. I hope you can remember why we are using localhost. It's simply because we are installing our website using our computer and we've not yet transferred our website to the internet. So you would have to type in localhost first in order to access your site on your computer, and then / followed by the name of your website, in our case Amazon, and then you press enter on your keyboard. Good. This is the front end of our computer. Sorry, this is the front end of our website, Amazon. This is where every person who visits your website will see. It looks like a normal website where you have write-ups, you have pictures, you have menus. We'll later deal with what we call menus, where you have where you can search. Basically, this is how the website will look like for now, because we're just starting. We would have to later configure it to suit what our website is about. Now this is the front end, like I said. To access the back end, which is where you will be doing most of your job as the administrator or as a website builder, simply go to another tab. This plus sign simply help us to open another tab. I will simply click on it because now I want to go to the back end of my website. So I'll simply click on this again. And right here in the address bar, I will type localhost forward slash the name of my website, then forward slash again administrator, and then I'll press enter. Good. This is a login page because it is not the part of your website where everybody can access. It's just you as the administrator that can access this back end. This is why it is required for you to type in your username and your password, which you created when you were installing Joomla. Okay, under the username, you simply type in admin. Remember, when you were installing Joomla, the username you gave for the database was admin. I'll simply click outside here. Then the password. The password here is not, I repeat, the password here is not the password that was sent to you via text when you bought this manual. It is the password that you gave when you were installing Joomla. It is the password which I told you to write somewhere so that you won't forget. You simply type in the password here. When you're done typing the password, you simply click on login. Alright, I'll simply close this. Now, this is the back end of our website. This is where we'll be doing most of our jobs. This is where we'll be configuring our website. This is where we'll be changing the looks of our website. Remember, only you as administrator have access to this place. Good. The first thing we'll be doing is global configuration. Global configuration simply means a general configuration of your website. This is the first thing you will have to do. You can either click on global configuration here, or you come to system and you click on global configuration. So I'll simply click on global configuration here. Okay, this comes up. Under global configuration, we shall be configuring some items under this site, which is what we have here. Under system, once I click on system, something else comes up, but I'm not clicking yet. We shall be configuring things under server and so on and so forth. But first of all, we are under site. Now under site settings, you have your site name, which is Amazon. In your case, it will be different depending on what name you give your website. Under site offline, you leave it as no. What site offline simply means is, do you want your site to be offline? Do you want your site not to be seen or not to be accessible from the front end? I'm sure you must have been familiar with some sites when you go and then you try to visit the site and then you get a page that tells you, sorry, this site is under maintenance. This is where such a thing is being configured. If I decide to click on yes, then front end users or those ones who access my site will not be able to access it. They will simply see a message telling them that my site is under construction, or rather under maintenance. Under offline message, this is where you type in, or rather you give the message which you want to appear in your front end of your website when it is set offline. Custom message is also where You type in if you want to customize a different message. For example, what we have here is this site is down for maintenance. If you decide to set your site offline now, this is the message that will show in the front end. But you can always change it to something else that you feel is okay with you. Under offline image is where you would also put the image which you want to appear when your site is offline. We shall be leaving this, and this alone like this for now. Later I will demonstrate what I mean by putting your site offline. Okay, we'll simply scroll down. Under default editor, you simply leave it as editor tiny MCE. If yours isn't editor tiny MCE, what you need to do is click here and then choose it by clicking on it. Under default capture, you should also change it by clicking on it and choosing capture recapture. Under default access level, you leave it as public. The default list limit should be left as 20. The default feed limit should be left as 10. Your feed email should be left as auto email rather. Under metadata settings, you have the site meta description. You can remember when you were installing Joomla, when you typed what you have here. This is simply a description of your website, or of what your website or what your company is about, so that if someone decides to go to Google to find out about your website, or perhaps the person has forgotten what your website is and decides to go to Google and type what you do, if a person types sales of computer or anything that has to do with what you have here, your website will surely pop up among others which Google will bring up. Under site meta keyword, this also has to do with your site being Googled or searched in Google. The difference between this and this, between the site meta keywords and the site meta description, is that under the site meta keywords, you will type in the name of your website itself, so that if one or users go to Google and type in the name of your website would appear for such a person. So here I will simply type in the name of my website, Amazon. You should also type in the name of your own website, comma. I will also type in Amazon again, but this time around I'll be using capital letter A. This is so that when users are typing in your your website, the name of your website in Google, whether they use small letter or capital letter, you are sure that your website will surely be brought up by Google. Under robots, you simply leave what you have here, index follow. Under content rights, you leave it empty. Show auto or auto meta tag, you leave it as yes. Show Joomla version, you leave it as no. I'll scroll up. Under SEO settings, your search engine friendly URL, you leave it as yes. Use URL rewriting, you leave it as no. Add suffix to URL, you leave it as no. Unicode alias, you leave it as no. Include site name in page titles. What this simply means is, in your page title, for example, here where our site is, or the front end of our site, all we can see in the page title here is home, but we cannot see the name our website. Now in the back end, which is administration end, which is where we are here, under include site name and page title, we can actually indicate whether we want the name of our site to appear in the page title. For example, the default is no. So I'll simply click here and I'll click before, because I want the name of my site to appear before the page title, which is active. If I come back here, because home is active, this particular tab home is active, that is why we have home here as our title page. If I click on sample sites, it changes to sample sites, and so on and so forth. I'll simply go back home and the page title changes to home. But now I want the name of my website Amazon to appear before this page title. So all I need to do is come back to my administration end on my back end and click. Then I'll come back to include site name in page title. I'll click on before. Once you've done that, scroll up. Whatsoever you do, whatsoever changes you make, you should always remember to click on save. If you don't click on save, the changes will not be affected in your front end. So all I need to do now is click on save. Okay, the message is configuration successfully saved. Good. Now I'll simply come back to my front end by clicking. Remember what we just did. We want the name of our website to appear before the page title. I have already changed that at my back end. So all I need to do is to refresh this front end by clicking on the refresh button, and then you notice what will happen here. Click on refresh. Good. Now the name of my website has appeared before the page title, which is what I just changed at the back end. I hope you got that. Good. I'll simply go back to my back end by clicking here. Now I'll quickly demonstrate what I mean by your site being offline. Now, if I click on yes, if I want my site to be offline, I click on yes, and then my offline message, I leave it as use custom message. If I click on it, I have hide, I have use site language default message, or I have use custom message. I'll simply activate use custom message. And other custom message, I have this site is down for maintenance. Please check back again soon. You can actually change this if you want. If you don't want, if you're okay with this message, you can leave it the way it is. Now under offline image, you can actually choose any image which you want. There are default image which came with your Joomla, or pictures which came with your Joomla. Later you shall be learning how to upload pictures and images onto Joomla so that you can use it for your website. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'll simply use any image which I find just to demonstrate what I mean by your site being offline. To do that, I'll click on select. This will come up. Now you have different folders where you have different images. You have your banners. Inside banners you have different images. Inside headers you have different images. Inside sample data you have different images. Now these are also some default images that came with Joomla. If I go into headers by clicking, I have different images here. Now If I decide to choose this particular image, all I need to do is click on it. Once I click on it, I will now click on insert. Once I click on insert, remember I told you that whatsoever configuration or changes you make and you want it to be effected in your front end, you need to always click on save. If you click on save and close, it will simply save it and then close this page. But we're not ready to close this page yet. So I will simply click on save. Or if you want to cancel this page, you can simply click on cancel. But we're not doing that. I'll just simply click on save to save what I've just configured there. I just configured my site to be offline by clicking yes. And then my offline message, I left it as use custom message, and I left this custom message here. And I also chose an image here. I'll simply click on save. You wait for it to save. Once it saves, it gives you a message, configuration successfully saved. Now I will go back to my front end just to show you what I mean by your site being offline. Once I go to my front end, I will simply refresh and click on the refresh button. Now you can see what I mean. Now you don't have access to the front end, or rather users who want to visit your site will not have access to your site because you've decided to click offline, or you decided to make your site offline because you want to perform maintenance on your site. Remember the image I chose? The image is actually too big for this space here. That's why you have it extending out. Later you shall be learning how to resize your images so that they will fit into whatever you want them to fit in. Now this is the message, default message. This site is down for maintenance. Please check back again soon. Username, password, remember me. Users do not have the username or the password to enter into your site yet. Even if later you decide to have a site that users will have to register, even if they type in their username and their password here, they won't still be able to have access to the website. Only you as administrator will have access to it. Alright. This site is down for maintenance. Please check back soon was what was in the offline message. I'll simply go back to my back end and then try to change this custom message so that you see that it also, once you save it, it will also effect the change in your front end. For example, let me simply type this site for now is down till further notice, just for the purpose of this lesson. Good. All I need to do now is click on save. I'll go back to my front end and refresh, and then watch out what happens here. Good. Now it has changed to this site is down till further notice, just like what you just did at your back end. So basically, what appears in your front end is simply controlled from your back end by you as the administrator. Alright, we'll simply go back to our back end and we'll move our site from being offline and bring it back online. Site offline, I'll simply choose no. I'll simply change this back to what it was before, just so that I don't forget. Good. Remember, I have changed it from being offline to online by clicking on no. Offline image, you could still leave it, though, because once your site is online, then you don't have any need for this anymore, or this till you want to maintain your site. Then you can put your site offline. So once you've edited this, you also have to click on save, and then we'll go back to our front end to make sure that our site is back online. Configuration successfully saved. Good. I'll come back here and I'll refresh my page. Fine. Our site is back online. Now back to our back end. We are done with our site. I'll simply now go to system by clicking. Now under system, you have path to log folder. You leave it as what it is. Help server, you leave it as English. Joomla help wiki. Debug settings, the debug system, you leave it as no for now. The debug language, you leave it as no for now. The cache settings, under cache, what cache simply means is memory of your website. For example, if someone goes to a website and then searches an image or an image, and then later wants to check that image again, if cache is activated, the image will be stored in a temporary memory so that the person will have access to it faster than the person did when the person first searched for the image. We'll simply come here. I will click on conservative cache. Cache handler, so that you click on file or cache light, but let's leave it as file. Cache time simply means how long do you want your database or your website to hold or to save such information, such as images or whatever the user is concerned about on your website. How long do you want the website to have it in its memory? In this case, the default is 15 minutes. So we leave this as it is. Your session lifetime has to do with that under session setting, has to do with how long should a user be left online before the page is taken up. Or rather, let me put it this way. Sometimes when you go to some sites and you log in with your username and password, you find out that if you're not active for a while, the system or the website will log you out. So this is where that is being configured. It's left for 15 minutes. So if you log in to a site and after 15 minutes you're not active on the site will simply log you off. Session handler will leave it as database. That is that for this. Okay, we actually changed some things here, so we have to click on save. Configuration successfully saved. Now it brought us back to site. Let's not forget, we are done with sites, we are done with system. Now we simply go to server. Under server, your path to temp folder, you leave it as it is. This you leave it as no. Error reporting, For now, you can leave it as system defaults, while your first SSL, you leave it as none. The location settings, server time zone, you leave it as universal time. Your FTP setting, everything here should be left the way it is for now because you're not running your site on the internet yet. When we come to you transferring your site into the internet so everybody can see it, we'll talk about FTP setting. Under database setting, remember when you were installing your database, or rather when you were installing Joomla, database type was MySQL. You leave it the way it is. The host for now is localhost. The database username you can remember was root. Database name was Amazon_DB. I hope you can remember. Database tables prefix was Amaz_. Now this has to do with my own website. Yours should be different. These two should be different in yours, depending on the name you give your website. Our mail settings, the mailer, we'll leave it as PHP mail. And then we'll leave every other thing here the way it is for now. We didn't change anything here, did we? No, we didn't. So there's no need clicking on save. I'll simply go to permissions now. Under permission settings, it has to do with the different users that will be coming to your website and their privileges. What I mean by privileges is what they can do on your site. You have different users here. You have the public user, and then the actions they can take. For example, site login, to log into your site, admin login, offline access, super admin, access administration interface, create and delete. All these are actions that can be taken on your website under public. But since it's public, for example, those that normally would just go to your website to see what your website is about should not be given some privileges, or should not be allowed to do some things on your website. We're simply going to leave this the way they are for now. If we go to guests, which is under public, these are also actions that can be taken. For example, the guest site login is not allowed, admin login is not allowed, offline access, if your line is offline, guest cannot access it. You cannot do the job of a super admin, which is you. And every other thing here is not allowed for guest. You can actually change it if you want. For manager, site login is allowed for the manager of your site, because you might not be the only person who would want to do everything in the back end of your site. You might want to give someone else privileges to be able to access the back end of your site, but you might want to restrict that person not to be able to do everything in your site just the way you as administrator can do. Now, if for example you have a user and you give the user the name of a manager, or you create the user or the person as a manager, these are actions which the person can take, and then here you can either allow the person to take such actions or you deny the person from taking such actions. For example, a manager can log into your site because you allowed it, or because the default is allowed. But if you don't want that to be, all you simply do is click here and then you click on deny. Once you click on deny, it will not allow whoever you create as a manager to have access to your site. Also, A manager under admin login is allowed. A manager, once your site is offline, is not allowed to log in, and so on and so forth. Under administrator, we also have other actions too, which anybody you create as an administrator can do. Remember, you are the super administrator, not just an administrator. You have registered users, you have author, you have editor, you have publishers. These two are just defaults that came with Joomla or the sample data which you installed. They are not necessary, so we'll be leaving them out. Now under super users, which is you now, remember I've been calling you the administrator, but you're actually a super user. If I click on super user, you'll find out that all the actions here are allowed by a super user, which is you. You could log into the site, you could log in as an admin, you have access to offline. If the site is offline, you can actually access the site. You have the privilege of a super admin, and so on and so forth. Everything here is under allowed for a super user. With time, or in subsequent videos and lessons, you would come to understand more about all these users and what they are. But just put at the back of your mind, for example, Yahoo. For you to be able to access your email, you need to be registered with Yahoo or with Gmail. That is where this particular category of users come under, registered. Then every other person who does not have a Yahoo ID or a Facebook ID are simply under public, where you have the guest. All they do is just go into the website and then just peruse it without having access to log in till they become registered members. Okay, I hope you understood that. We didn't effect any change here, so I won't be clicking on save. I'll just leave it the way it is. I will now go to text filters. Under text filters, obviously you don't have to do anything here for now. We'll simply leave it the way it is. Now this is all about global configuration. We started from site, we did some configuration here. I hope you can remember. We went to system, server, permission, text filters. Now we are done with our global configuration for now. So all I need to do now is click on save. Good. Once it's saved, it will tell you configuration successfully saved. This is all we'll be learning for now under global configuration. Thank you.